I'm Ben Sawyer, and this is The Road to Now. Today, we have a special live show. We are here at the Tennessee Council for History Education, a meeting here of teachers of all grade levels from across Tennessee who all share this love for history and have decided to dedicate their professional lives to teaching it, to sharing it with our students, and playing a vital role, if I may, in taking care of this democracy we've got by letting people understand the giants whose shoulders we stand on. And I'm very grateful to all of you guys for being here. As someone who has a fifth grader right now, I will need you soon, high school teachers and middle school teachers. So thank you. We got three great guests here. And since we are speaking in this conversation about educators at different levels, we've got folks who teach in different, I guess geographically, we're not too far away, but the age groups we teach are different. And I think this is an important conversation to have. I feel like I constantly find myself in the classroom knowing that I could do a better job of understanding what my students are coming in with. And I think this dialogue right here, you guys fostering this, is going to be helpful for all of us. Just to know, for me, what are they learning in the classrooms before? And for you guys, what to prepare them for when they come into the college classroom. So let's introduce our guests, and we'll go left to right here. Brandon Eldridge, welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
That's great. Could you tell everybody who you are, what you do, and all that?
Yeah, my name is Brandon Eldridge. I teach at Central Magnet School in Murfreesboro. I teach AP US History as well as pre-law. I'm very involved in the National History Day project. We do a lot with the Tennessee State Mock Trial through the Tennessee Bar Association, as well as a lot of other activities nationally through the University of Virginia. I'm working on something right now with the Martin Van Buren Project at Cumberland University. Also worked with the Jack Miller Center. Just there's a lot that I've been involved with nationally and with the state of Tennessee.
That's amazing, Brandon. It sounds like you do all the jobs. Do you guys do anything? Does anyone here do anything? Brandon's doing them all. That's amazing. Our second guest for tonight, Rupert Charles, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good, but I have to follow it out of, so.
Yeah, good luck.
I am a second-year teacher at Wright Middle School. I teach sixth grade. That's ancient world history, so I'm just glad to be here.
Excellent. And our third guest, the show, you know him if you're in the audience right now. You also know him if you listen to our show. Returning, I think, for your third or fourth.
I have to be a friend of this program right now. The third officially. Time, yes.
Let me redo over. Our third member of the panel up here, friend of the show, Dr. Andy Polk. How you doing, man?
Thank you. Please, the applause is too much. There's two. Calm down.
I will edit it. We'll edit all the applause.
Right. It'll be fine. We'll add. You pump it up.
It'll sound like nobody was here, but we'll edit it out. It's too much.
Yeah, I'm a professor of history at Middle Tennessee State University, where Ben is as well. I have been for many years in charge of the history education program. I was a high school teacher for years. I coached middle school. Bless all of you who teach middle school. They're just like subhumans of hormones and angst. They're wonderful and beautiful and lovely. And I couldn't do it. I'm not attuned. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to have this conversation. I think it's really important as we train teachers and have teachers in the field right now. Yeah.
That's right. So these are our three panelists tonight. And I will say this, towards the end of the show, we will open the floor to questions. If you guys have any or anything you want to contribute here, what we're trying to do is really spark a conversation that we can all share. So we'll invite you to be a part of it at the end of the show. But let's just start off, and we'll go in the order we introduced. We had a pre-meeting about this and discussed the questions, but I thought a great one to start off with is, so we all teach different levels, right? Different age groups, and at, a couple of years apart, sure, but fundamentally different levels of development. And we all have to look at our students, and we all have to ask ourselves the question, why should they care about history? We have to convey that. So from the perspective of high school, sixth grade, college, how do you answer that question, Brandon? When a student of yours says, why should I care about history? Why should I study it? What do you say?
I think it's a lesson in understanding the how we got here. I always try to impress upon my students the importance of now, the importance to show how we were able to develop. And so as we go through the course, we're starting to develop, and I start to see students looking at things from the perspective of, oh, that's how that happened. And that contextualization really puts things into perspective, and they can see relationships. We see a lot of continuity, and we see how things change over time, and it really puts the perspective of how our nation was developed and the development of our nation to where we are today, and the kids are able to see that through the course in the study of history.
Excellent. Rupa, God bless you, because you're a couple years earlier with the age group of your students, but you're also talking about many, many years in the past. So how do you tell your sixth grade students that ancient history matters?
I guess kind of similar to what Brandon said, I want them to be able to connect what we learn about in ancient history to the world they see around them now. So I guess, like, I think about it like this: if you were to like see a box from straight on, the only thing that you see is a square, right? It's a two-dimensional shape, but you know in your brain that there's more to it than that. And I guess what I want them to understand is that our world is the same way. If we take things the way that they are now, then that's pretty two-dimensional. But our world is three-dimensional, so I want them to see it as that. Like if we take a car and we think about it as like a semi-modern invention, that would be ignoring like thousands of years of innovation that leads to that point. I teach sixth grade, so I have to be really excited about the wheel. But like, it is true. They have to like understand what came before in order to get to what we have now. And I guess that's really what I want them to understand.
Andy Polk?
Yeah, so my short version of my syllabus day spiel, because I do this at the beginning of every semester, is one, I introduce myself by saying I'm a professional historian who thinks random historical trivia is pretty much worthless for humanity. They love that one at the beginning. And by I mean random historical trivia, right? If it's just a thing that I think is cool and you should think is cool, if you don't think it's cool, I have no backup why we're doing this, right? So to me, that's not what we do, right? For most people, even people who don't like history, we use history, right? We tell stories of the past to give meaning to the present. And that matters, right? Everyone does this. So the easiest example, Thanksgiving is coming up. I hope yours is less awkward than mine will be. But hypothetically, Thanksgiving, everything's going fine. And then that uncle, you know that uncle, we all have that uncle, decides we should all talk about the founding fathers, right? The great founding fathers discussions, right? So if he's talking about, well, Sam and John Adams said this and they're doing, and you were to come and be like, well, actually, John Adams didn't say that when he was in Massachusetts, he did this. Usually the reaction is, cool, right? Now, it may be because of that uncle. I don't know, your uncle. But it's usually because that's not what he's talking about, right? He's talking about the founding fathers, not talking about the old dead dudes. It's like 2.5 generations. What he's actually saying is, this is how I think America was founded. I think this is what it should be. I think this is what it is now, and this is what it should be in the future. Right? So he's talking about the founding fathers really to talk about something else. So that matters to us. It should. And therefore it matters if we're telling stories of the past, give meaning to the present. The story of the past should matter, right? We do deal with facts. My favorite quote, the mid-20th century is, we're each entitled to our own opinions, but not our own facts and not our own reality, right? So we do teach students about the past. But by the time they get to me, the point is not to just teach them about the past, but teach them to think about the way they talk about the past, right? Why do we tell the stories we tell? And to deal with the complexity and ambiguity, right? The nuance, right? Bob's not here, so I'm gonna take Bob's turn of this. That's what we deal with, right? Because the reality is you can have two people who are very well educated, very well meaning. They can tell the same story in completely different ways, and they're both right. They're both right. It's all based on evidence, right? Whenever we tell a story, it's a story, not the story. And so we can be okay with that, right? To learn that complexity, to learn that nuance, to learn the ways that this developed. But I think the other part of that is that when we study history in this way, right? When it's about how we think about the past, not just what you know about the past, it also demands certain things of us, right? So if that part is, we're each entitled to our own opinions, but not our own facts or not our own reality, the way I tell my students, and I don't think I'm anywhere near alone in this, is, listen, you are entitled to your own opinion. You're beautiful butterflies, right? This is what I say every time. You have it, that's fine. What I will require of you is to be able to explain why you believe what you believe. I think that's a baseline. It's not a high bar. And you should be able to understand how someone else could believe something differently, right? So when we teach history, primarily, I think we're not just teaching historical facts. They're going to learn about the past, but we teach people to think historically. And thinking historically is about complexity and nuance and, right? We sort through a bunch of contradictory evidence. We come to a conclusion. We say, I think this is why. Why do you think? Right? My answer is, I think America would be way better if we all thought a little more historically, as opposed to just knowing our stuff and yelling, right? Because that, to me, is what historical study is.
Yeah, I think we get more leeway in the college classroom. I think one of my new ways of explaining history to folks is to say, I tell them, you guys are looking for an unbiased source, right? Everybody always asks me this, how do you find an unbiased source? And I always tell them, well, the first step is to go find the fountain of youth. And then the second step is to go find a Sasquatch to ride, and then to find Loch Ness Monster. Go by land, by sea, and hopefully you have enough time and enough resources to live long enough to realize that you were looking for something that doesn't exist. We're all biased. It's the agenda you got to look out for. And I think most people, and this is the freeing thing about it, when you're being sold narratives, when people sell you a story that you're into, right? We're all born into a story that's already written before we get here. When people sell you a version of that story, essentially they script out what you're going to do next. And I think for me, especially, we've all got these kids who are trying to be independent. At least for me, telling them, I'm not going to tell you what to think. I want to give you the tools to be your own person. And you can't be your own person if you let someone else sell you their story. And the bias ain't what to worry about, because we're all biased. It's an agenda. What does somebody really want? This is good kickoff. I'm hosting, but I just answered that question. All right. I didn't even have the decency to ask myself, Ben, what do you think about that? All right, so there's the vision, right? But then there's the question of everything between, the vision of what we want to do and what the challenges are we face. So now that we've laid out what we're trying to do, I think the next step is to say, what are the challenges? Like when you were trying to convey this to these folks, what challenges do you see, and how do they shape the way that you can actually do your job? And we'll go in the same order, start off with Brandon.
The major challenges, especially in my classroom, is breaking down the things that are just blatantly historically inaccurate through social media platforms, through things that we see on, Instagram and, wherever. And it's breaking those down and showing the students, like, my classes are always focused in on primary sources, and I pull and pull and pull constantly. And so showing, a student that has something, they're like, this happened and I know it did. Show me where that was said. And it's the challenge of the constant media of people saying things online, and the kids are constantly on their phones. Well, not State of Tennessee anymore, but the constant dopamine hits that they're trying to get on social media, and they're coming across these things, and they'll bring it into class and be like, hey, I saw this. I'm sorry, that's not right. And so breaking down those barriers of seeing a student and getting them interested in it while simultaneously be like, yeah, that's not right, though. That's one of the major challenges I see on the high school level is that.
Ripa?
I think one of the challenges that we face in middle school just is building up social studies understanding while trying to teach the content itself. Some of our kids have very, very little social studies from elementary school or even skills to work with. So we're trying to figure out how to make the content relevant and understand why we're even talking about this while still developing north, south, east, and west, which is really exciting that we get to start from scratch and teach them everything that we know. But it can also be a challenge to build really foundational skills while teaching them content that is challenging for anyone to understand.
Andy?
I think a lot of that is similar, right? The brain development is different, so the skills development are different as they go through, and I have the benefit of all y'all's hard work. I think the one now, or the past probably 5 years, is, right, students come to my class, and I teach everything from the freshman surveys to graduate stuff, which is nice, but it happens especially with the surveys of, Yeah, there's apathy, right? That always happens. Where, why am I taking this class? Because the great state of Tennessee forces me to, right? That's part of it. But now it's the distrust. It's that, right? It takes me 2 weeks for them to realize I'm not out to get them. There's no gotcha. It turns out I'm not this weird caricature that they've heard from TikTok. I mean, I'm a weird caricature, but not one of those types.
Not that one.
Yeah, they figured it out pretty quickly. This guy's weird. It's coming to the point of, as we've said before, right? My job is not, and I tell them flat out, I don't want you to be little me's. My goodness, be better, please, right? I want you can believe what you want to believe. I think you should. You should just be able to explain that. You should be able to point me to evidence that has it, right? You should be able to figure out why and how you do this. I think that's the part of what it is, and them trusting that I don't have an ulterior motive other than I literally want you to think deeply and critically. That's it. That's what we're doing. I don't always get all of them even in that. They figured out most of them for a while, but it's hard now because I'm a symbol of a thing, not necessarily a person. And those of you in 6 through 12, especially now where it's targeted, know that very well. That's continuing to come down.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we're doing this for the money, so we need to indoctrinate people.
The money and the esteem. I mean, the celebrity is really why I do it.
There's so much respect.
Yeah.
I will say this, it's teaching history is like one of the only jobs where you can tell a stranger what you do, and then they immediately go, I hate it. If you're a plumber, somebody doesn't go plumbing. Like, they don't. But history, well, strangers at a bar, oh, I hate history. It's like I always have to hold back because when someone says I hate history and they have that kind of poison to them, my first response, I wanted to be like, well, I can see why. When I look at you, it seems like things haven't been good before this. I hope that things get better in the future. I don't do that. I'm nice. I love people. I love people too much. But this is an interesting question, right? Because we go from Ruba, whose challenges are largely developmental, right, and where they are in life, right, and this is kind of it's an evolutionary thing, right, and then you get to the point where we are, and you've got the fact that so many of we still have it because they're still 19, I mean, you can't expect them to care about what happened before. That's on us, right? But then you've got the fact that people are telling other folks to be suspicious of us, and I've said this before, I say it again, I am always, anybody out there in the public who wonders what we do in class, if you make policy, come sit in on my class. Don't even tell me when it is. I'd love to have you in there. We learn about how the government works. So government comes to you. And this gets to a question here, I think, that's a good one because I know you guys get this because I get it all the time. So many people are out there telling me what I do at work. People screaming about telling me what I do. And I've invited many people in my classrooms, say, come on in. You're always welcome here. Don't tell me when you're coming. Here's my schedule. And I've never had anyone take me up on that, even though I do sincerely mean it. I don't want people to think I'm doing what people say I'm doing, right? I love your kids. Like, I love the opportunity. It's a gift to serve these students and serve the state of Tennessee. So I wonder on this topic, if we could go and say, like, what, if you could speak to people who aren't in the classroom, right? And this was actually, Kira had this great question, there's that meme that's like what I do at work or what people think I do at work, right? And then there's what I do at work. And so let's go down here and just say, like, what would you say to the people who haven't been in the classroom? What do you wish they knew about what you do in your job?
I don't have time to get a bias about advanced placement United States history because the amount of key concepts that I have to cover is absolutely the most insane. I have to go from pre-1491 to, it says present. And so I have to cover all of this stuff. And to think, just look at the sheer amount, come sit in my classroom, and I would be glad for you. I have a YouTube channel, and I have all of my lectures that are on there. Anybody can go and visit them. You want to know what we're teaching? There it is, right there. You want to know what we're doing in class? It's right there. I use Remind for my class where parents can get information. You want to know what I'm sharing with your kids? You get it as well. And the fun story is, I have parents complain, why are you sending this? Okay, I'll take you off the list. But you signed up for this at the beginning, all right? So yeah, I think it's one of those things where I feel like they think we're like bad scientists, like in a lab, and we're trying to, all right, little Johnny, you're going to feel this way. And I don't have that kind of time. So we have a passion for what we do. We want your child to be the best they can be. And that's what we go for.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ruba, what do you got to say? What do you wish people knew? I honestly wonder what you do in your room. I don't know what happened that long ago. So
I guess, and this is something I've learned over the last 2 years from being a teacher. I think people don't know what schools are like in 2025. I think that the classroom, and this is coming from, like, I wasn't, like, K-12 was not so long ago for me, but even I feel like school is so different than it was when I was in it. The students that we deal with have grown up in a completely different way than any of us have. They live in a fast-paced and very overstimulating world. And at least for a 12-year-old, school is the least stimulating, most boring place you could ever be. And so there sometimes is a disconnect. And there's a lot of great things about this younger generation, too. They're very creative. They're really good friends. But it is just so different. And I think there are a lot of people who, whether politicians or people in the public, who love to talk about schools and things like that, but they don't know at all what it's like to be in a school in 2025. And I guess I wish they could just go to your classroom or go to my classroom or go to your classroom for like 30 minutes.
Come on.
And experience what it's like.
yeah, and I mean, just to add this before we ask Andy, we serve, like, we're here to serve. We serve, like I tell people every day, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to serve the people of Tennessee. That's why I'm here. And that's who you guys support this. And and if I'm not serving you, then that's a problem. But, you know, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna try my hardest. Andy, what do you think it is? What do you wish people knew outside the classroom?
Yeah, I think for the higher ed side, it's an issue of that caricature stuff. So the one I get the most, probably because I'm a religious historian, I do U.S. religion and politics. I'm a lot of fun at parties. We always talk about my work all the time. Right. Most college professors are teachers in the same way. Right. People have an idea of every college professor is like at an R1, which is like full research, like they teach one class and they're doing this stuff. That's not true of almost everyone teaching college across America from top to bottom. But it also becomes this caricature of, so I'm not, again, I could do religion and politics and none of this stuff makes me nervous. I'm not going to get anything that may make you. The one that I get the most is there was a movie a while ago called God's Not Dead, in which Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, he's the actor who played Hercules, and I still think him of Hercules. He's just a terrible professor. It's like a philosophy 101. And the first day he's like, God is dead, and you must sign this and declare that you also believe so, or we're going to fail. That dude's fired the second day. Like, it doesn't matter where that dude, like, well, he has tenure. No, that's not the way it works. That guy's a terrible teacher. It doesn't happen. He's fired no matter where he is. That's not true. It's the equivalent of like saying, I know how the justice system works because I've watched Law and Order a lot. Turns out, not totally accurate. Boom, boom, right? It goes through.
Andy, I've always said that the God's Not Dead, the title should be Professor's Not Employed.
It's not going to happen. And he's Hercules. I think it's echoing the same thing. We do this because we love to do it. Like, we care about this. We care about your students. If you don't think that, have you met your children? We have another 120 of them. We have to love them to do this. Just like you get frustrated, we do. Like, we're teachers. It matters. They matter to us. The subject matters to us. And we're not perfect, but man, we're not that weird, like Law and Order-ish Hercules come into my classroom. And I'll tell you, it's just not functionally true virtually anywhere. And virtually no colleges are like that anyway. It's just not the way that it actually works.
Yeah, I remember they told me about it, and they were like, it's a true story. And I looked it up, and I was like, it's not a true story. It's a story, that's for sure. But it did also, he's a philosophy professor, right? He's supposed to teach them how to reason. I broke it down for my students. I was like, it's a bad philosophy lesson. He, first of all, by saying he's acknowledged God exists, and then he said he's dead by default. God can't die. Anyway, that's just my take with it.
It's bad. Come on.
Yeah, I had someone who took real philosophy classes and did okay in them. Okay. Not going to say I won. It's interesting to see at all levels we feel this pressure. And I guess as the moderator now, like that's one thing that's come through is that like we're dealing with caricatures. And for those of you guys who are listening who are educators, you guys are going, this, I hope it's cathartic. We're saying it. You're probably feeling it too. I think everyone I speak to feels this that teaches history. But for those of you guys who are listening, I hope you also hear that everyone up here, if you listen on Sirius XM, if you're listening on the podcast feed, I hope what you hear is that we're not frustrated because somebody found us out. We're frustrated because we want to do a really good job for your kids. And sometimes it's hard whenever they come in the classroom thinking that we're something, when we got to spend our time and energy convincing the kids that we're not their enemy, that we're actually here to serve them, which is why we're here. That can be frustrating for us. It can take away from the time that we have and energy we have in the classroom. And, you know, they won't stop till they've got all of our time. So that's the truth about life. So, you know, on this topic, I think one of the reasons that we've gotten, or certainly publicly I've heard, we get flack is because people don't like us addressing certain topics in the classroom. There's been a range of points of opposition here, but generally it's like slavery. People think, that we've got some kind of an agenda with slavery. Our agenda, honestly, is to educate, and so it's really hard. I tell my students I would love to teach a version of U.S. history without slavery in it, but it's just that there were a lot of enslaved people and then a lot of non-enslaved people who really cared about slavery. They talk about it a lot, so it's kind of hard to get around it. Go find a primary source document from 1830 in Mississippi and tell me if it's brought up. So what would you say to those of you guys who, obviously in ancient history there's slavery, right? It probably doesn't set off the same hot button issue as it does in the classroom there, Rupa. So what do you say to folks if they say, as I've heard people say, it makes white folks say it makes my kid feel bad if we learn about slavery, or possibly the idea that some, folks who are not white feel bad because they're being marginalized by being talked about, as part of a history of a slavery that's different. What would you say to those folks who have these oppositions?
First, I tell them I am not going to stray away from any type of hard history. I'm going to go through and we're going to talk about the truth. Second, that's why we use primary sources. If there are issues and questions that come up, then we can bring out those primary sources. So when we look at the causation of the Civil War, I'm going to bring up Alexander Hamilton Stevens' famous cornerstone speech and be like, all right, we want to talk about what the cornerstone is of the American South and why they're seceding from the Union. Here it is. And we look at those primary sources to be able to show this is what happened. We tell the truth. We tell what happened. We tell that narrative because that's what we are here to do, is to correct those TikTok stories and all of the things that come about.
Rupa, there's parents who are out there saying, like, don't talk bad about the ancient Egyptians. What do you say to them?
I'm still working on that one.
Yeah. So, but do you, do you get pushback? I mean, for what you're teaching, is this something where your topic is far enough away and doesn't feel as threatening to people?
I would say probably what I anticipate to be the most contentious topic would be religion. We do a lot of teaching world religions. I haven't had any concerned parents yet, so knock on wood for me, someone out there. But I think that it's kind of the same thing. We don't do as much primary sources with ancient history, but I could show a parent that I teach about modern religions the same way as I teach about religions that are no longer practiced. And what's really important to me is that students can connect that religions that are still practiced today are religions that were formed thousands of years ago, and that the impact that those religions had and still have on groups of people. It's never about teaching them what to believe. It's just showing them the power of a system of beliefs.
Yeah, I think teaching with primary sources in your field would involve like cranes, right? They're just like, all right, comes the wall, here comes some hieroglyphics. But I mean, also the language disconnect. I mean, we already have this when the primary sources are in English, students will be like, that was hard to read. And I'm like, I know. I know it is hard to read. You should have read it when it was handwritten. Andy, what do you say to this, folks who oppose teaching about controversial topics, or that they see as controversial?
Yeah, I mean, one, this is just, I'm religion, politics, race, and gender, so they love talking to me about this anyway. My thing is the same thing. I don't tell them what to believe about that. I help them think critically about that. And my thing is always, it's just like, if you're a concerned parent, here's one, all right? I'm going to say this for you all. If you are a listener out there and you're a concerned parent, Good. You love your kids. Of course you're a concerned parent. Like that, of course you are. If you're concerned about something that your child said that they learned at school, one, can we give a second to realize that's going through your child, right? Have they ever told you anything that may be not quite accurate, right? So maybe have some patience with that. But I think the other part is if you're mad at me for what I'm teaching about this and you want to come talk to me, could you please spend like 10 minutes just looking on Wikipedia real quick? Like literally just, I don't, and again, I don't mean this like you love your kids, you're concerned. Of course you are, but like, come with like questions we're going to have. Because if you come to me, you come to my students. So I teach future teachers, history teachers, part of what I do in the department. I tell them they're very nervous about this, right? They're concerned about being new teachers coming out. What are we going to teach? What do we have? My thing is always is keep your lesson plans and those sources. And when they come in, man, how fun is that? I'm going to give you a packet and let's look at the sources and we go through. There is a part of this stuff happened. Again, entitled to our opinions, not fact and reality. What we do with that is up in the air because we're human beings. So if we're going to have a discussion, it has to be based on the facts. And then from the facts, man, then the ambiguity just explodes. That's fine. But we're going to go from the facts and then we're going to talk about as we interpret. What do you think? And then I'm going to follow up always with a why. Why do you think that way? Because that's how I teach your kid. So it's just, I mean, isn't that what we're all supposed to be doing, right? And so that's the process. That's historical investigation. So if you want to come, that's fine. I love it. Come to my class. I got a packet for you every time. I'd love that discussion. But yeah, come with questions, not just fear, right? You love your kid. I love you. I mean, I don't love your kid as much as you. I get that. But I mean, teaching them, care about them. Like, let's do this together a little bit, not being so scared of.
You know, when I have an assistant, I tell them, and this would be something I'd love to hear your feedback on, but I get a graduate assistant who's never taught before, and I tell them I can't tell them how to teach because we all do it differently, but there's 2 rules. And the first one is you have to care about the people in front of you. And the second one is you have to let them know you care about them, and that's not the same thing.
That's good, yeah.
There's just a lot of people who care, they don't know how to convey it, so it's on you to hone yourself because nobody learns from someone that they don't feel like cares about them. And I think that's the problem with our modern dialogue is that if you show somebody, I'm not going to love you no matter what. And I think this is probably symptomatic of our historical environment where we superimpose the narrative over the past. Here's what I wish would have happened. And I'm satisfied with that without investigating. And then you see that creep into the way we treat each other. Because you'll see somebody walk over to somebody else. They've never met each other before. One person says one thing, the other person's wheels start spinning. That's one of them. That's right, yeah. And then you guys ever seen somebody telling somebody what they think? You're one of those damn liberals out there. You're one of those conservative Nazis out there. You ever seen somebody who just met somebody and the person talking to the stranger is claiming to be the world's foremost expert on the person they just met? I mean, why would I trust you? If you've shown me that you will tell me who I am after 5 minutes of talking to me, why would I believe what you say about anything else? And I think we got to understand, like, love is at the basis of this. Loving each other as citizens, as brothers and sisters, giving people the right to have a good faith life. And I think if we can do that, we can open it up to the messiness of it. I ain't saying we ain't gonna fight. We're gonna. Yeah. We're getting disagreements with family members we love, right? But I always say to them, I love them first.
Yeah, I tell my students, beginning of the year, if you're in my classroom, you're a part of my family. And we build that bond through the years. And by the end of the year, they'll run through a brick wall for me. I mean, I teach mostly juniors and seniors. The amount of recommendations that I've had to write this year is just absolutely astronomical. I was looking through the list over the past 5 years, and I have something like 115 recommendations that I've wrote for kids. But I've shown them that I care. And they're constantly sending me. I got one, she's getting engaged this year or something. She's like, you're going to be at my wedding. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me know when it is. But
You're going to marry me. And you're like, oh, it's a lot.
I don't know about that. But yeah, it's showing that affection, showing that you care, being able to see, like, hey, like, what's going on right now, education aside. Because in the long run of things, those are the things that matter, building those relationships for those kids and being that rock for them.
Can I just make a public service announcement right now? For all the parents out there listening, and I think I speak on behalf of all of us, You guys have those students who come and ask you for a letter of recommendation. They apologize for asking you for a letter of recommendation.
Every single one of
Are
them.
you ever upset whenever someone you
Never.
believe in comes to you and says, will you help me take my talent to the next level? I am never upset,
Not at all.
ever. I love doing it. I give assists. That's all we do. We give assists.
Just give me time on them. I had one. It was like,
You don't want that
can you
letter.
get this for
Not by
me?
4:30, but yeah.
I'll
Can you
give
get this
it to
for me in 24 hours? I'm like, I'll do my very best.
Look, this letter of recommendation will be in crayon, will be delivered by a carrier pigeon, but technically it will be sent by the deadline. That's great. So, we've kind of already talked on this, like, okay, there's challenges, right? We're all feeling pressure from a variety of ways. We all, I'm sure, doubt ourselves. We're all, if you do this job in good faith, you're learning new things that make you rethink what you taught before, right? Sometimes you realize you might have got one or two things wrong and you go back and you issue the correction, right? So there's a lot of challenges to it, but we still do it. Everyone in this room still does it. We keep doing it. There's something about it that's valuable to us. And so, we'll start with Brandon. Like, what are the successes? What do you see in the classroom that keeps you, fighting this fight on behalf of these students?
It's definitely the pay.
The pay, it's all
yeah.
the money.
No, for me, it's the kids that the kids that you have in class that are the history nerds. Like, you love seeing them, but it's the girl that's the theater major that has she could not tell me the difference between Kansas and Nebraska. And I was like, oh my goodness. And through the semester, through the year, I saw this love of history starting to grow. Now, it was nowhere near what her love of theater was, but I was able to show her aside, and like, she wrote one of her papers for me on the history of Broadway during the Roaring 20s, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. And she sends me stuff now. She's at theater school up in, I think she's outside of Boston, and she'll send me stuff. It's just like history related. And I'm like, girl, you would never do this before. I could never get you to have a conversation with me about history, but now it's those things that I absolutely love, and see the kid that wasn't the history nerd that came in and fought me tooth and nail most days, but I was able to see her grow, and it's those that I'm so proud of.
Excellent. Ruba, what keeps you doing it for 2 years? Why'd you come back after your work?
Yeah, maybe I have a different perspective, but I feel like there's a lot of like online rhetoric. Like, there's a whole subculture of TikTok called teacher quit talk, and it's like all about how much better life is not teaching. And like, don't get me wrong, they have like their reasons. But I just sometimes when I watch those videos, I like might agree with something they say, but like, I feel like this is like what I'm supposed to be doing, because there are so many days when you walk out of a school maybe feeling heavy or like it's impossible. But then like there are days when you walk out of the school like feeling like you're walking on air because something amazing happened in your classroom. And maybe it's like the lesson you were really excited about went perfectly, or it's even better when a lesson that you didn't even think was anything was even more perfect. Or when students like start to really grasp why we're learning about this or why this is important, or even making connections. Like today, I showed them a picture of hieroglyphics and someone said, that looks like cuneiform. I'm like, yes, yes, it does. And like those moments are like honestly priceless, So I feel like those highs kind of drag us through the lows,
Andy Polk?
Yeah, I think for me, it's in some sense a combination of those two, though I don't get the second one as much. So for me, it is not so much like the term the light bulb moments. It's the right? When you just see like, oh, they are thinking, right? That they're not sure. Those times are the winning times. And the other aspect that I don't get as much as college. I tell my students who are going to be teachers this. In some sense, I'm jealous of all of you teaching secondary. Like, I miss it desperately in that, like, I love my job. I love my students. I have some students, who take me whenever they can, if they're history majors and they have, but it's not the same thing of being a part of, like, an intimate part of their lives. You see these kids all the time. You do clubs afterwards, like they're going to get married. Like it really doesn't matter. I made the joke about middle school, and literally I'm not equipped. Those of you who do it, that's great. But middle school, like, they love you. My students don't love me. They like me, right? But there's not like that. You're a part of their life. I mean, it's really hard, but I don't think there's anything more rewarding than that, right? Of why do I go to work? Well, I got to make money and I have to, all that's true, but it's also like, I mean, teaching, I just don't think there's much else like it in that type of, you get to legitimately see yourself helping and being a part of another human being's life that they will remember later on, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything better.
Also, you know, we're speaking to educators who are doing it now. And we might have some people listening too. And I thought one of the questions that I asked you, you know, Rupa, you're fresh out of college just a couple years ago. By the way, I can't remember. You went to an incredibly excellent university for your education.
The best.
Yeah. Where was that again?
Michigan State University.
Go Green.
Go White.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great university there. Many of the finest people up here on the stage attended that university.
Hey, that's not fair. Go Cumberland.
Okay, Cumberland. Okay, home of the Van Buren papers over there. It's kind of the same.
It's very much the same.
Very much. I mean, you know, one of the largest campuses on the country in Cumberland. You know what I'm saying? No, I love every college has this. I'm just being, you know, I'm being a bit jingoist over here. I found a compatriot in that. But you know, you went through the teaching education program there, and it's a great program, but we all know there's like, they train you for it, and then there's what you think it's going to be. And then there's day one when you walk in and seeing through it. And for folks who are coming out right now or are studying it, what was the difference? What was the biggest thing that you learned when you walked into that classroom that you never got out of your education classes?
For one, I learned that I have never needed to write a 7-page lesson plan.
By the way, you guys couldn't hear it, but somebody goes, never, in the audience. Never, waiting for that one.
But I guess what was really surprising to me, and I don't even think like student teaching can prepare you for this, is just like you have your own 4 walls of the classroom, which like you are the master of. But there's so much more to teaching outside of your own 4 walls that I think can be really shocking and take some time to adjust to. But being like working in a school comes with a lot. And I don't think college prepares you for that.
I think the lessons that I learned, because, you know, we teach college and it's so fundamentally different. My son was in kindergarten whenever everybody went, you know, during the pandemic. And I kind of hope that would be a learning moment where everyone realized how much teachers do in the primary schools for their kids, and maybe come to an appreciation for that. Maybe that some of that's still sticking around, but I'm fairly surprised by how quickly people forgot, you know, what was very obvious to all of us, which was these teachers in our primary schools are doing way more than just content. And I'm grateful to you guys for doing that. I just made my son sit down in front of a laptop, and that was less fun. Anyway, you know, we're getting to the end of the hour now. I just wanted to go down and ask all you guys, like, any parting words, anything for the folks in the audience you'd like to share, anything for the listeners to the show, any last comments there, Brandon?
I think if you're an educator and you're listening, the best thing that I can say is show your students you care. There are days where sometimes they're just not lovable, and you just show them that you care, and they will absolutely do anything and everything for you. Empathy goes a long way, and if you have that, and you show your kids that you love them, the other stuff will come into play like a glove.
Excellent. Rupa?
I think to echo Brandon, just that we love teaching history. I can't believe that I get to talk about history all day, and that's my job, you know? And to share it with students is the best thing in the world. We love to do it. And I guess to people who aren't educators, like, there's no need to stop being a student of history, even if you're not in school anymore. I mean, history is happening all the time. And learning about history never stops being important. So keep learning about it.
Andy Polk?
Yeah, I mean, I think mine would be for those especially those listening on the podcast who may not be teachers too, it is just that if you're a teacher because you care about kids. Like there's no, like that can't not be there. I mean, I tell my students all the time, like no matter how much you love history, if you hate teenagers, don't be a teacher.
Amen.
Like you love the subject, you're gonna deal with just teenagers being teenagers more than you are in the subject. That has to matter. And since you're still teaching, you still care about teenagers. It's that part of, I mean, we're in this together. As I said before, of course, parents love their kids. You're concerned about your kids. You want to protect. None of that's bad. We also like your kids and we want to help your kids and we want to be a part of it. So as much as we can partner in that, don't come defending, don't come accusing, don't come scared. We're in this together. Come with your concerns. We'll figure it out. That's good to know. You're their parents. You know them better than we do. That's great. We admit that. Oh man, let's help figure out the best we can for the kids.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the thing too, is maybe something, I will say is that earlier, it's like we start from the point of feeling the frustration of the public pressure on us, but also, we're looking out for your kids, and it's entirely possible that there's a good faith reason to, be concerned. If I heard the things that I've heard about me and believed them, I too would be like, we should look into that. But do the looking into it, right? Don't just trust what somebody else tells you. The us and them of it all has people saying, don't listen to them, listen to me, I'll tell you what they think. And as historians, we all know that's the precursor for some of the worst things that have ever happened in human history. I always remind my students that we study segregation, and one of the things we forget is that white folks were banned from going into black establishments as well, because the goal was to keep people from talking to each other. There's just a real problem that comes when you look another person in the eye, which is that we have this great gift of empathy. And when we can look at each other and see each other as the same, we find that common ground. And there are just people who would like us not to, because the minute that their narrative is disproven, so is their power. And I want to get to some Q&A. But before we go, could we say a round of applause for our guests tonight? Ruth Charles, Brandon Eldridge, and Andy Polk. If you wouldn't mind saying your name and where you teach and what level, what age level?
My name is Christina Evans, and I'm a local teacher here in Nashville. I teach at Glencliff High School, which is your feeder school. Hey. And so I teach 9 through 12. And so my question is really about the future a little bit. So Rupa knows our demographic is very specific. And our demographic is at the heat of a lot of discussion currently. And as historians, I think we can recognize what's going on around us and make the connections of what we're teaching in real time. But in reality, my job is to usually be excited about my kids finding those real world connections. But right now, those connections are really heavy. And the future seems really, really dim and dark, especially to my demographic. And I just kind of want to know, how do we navigate this as historians, as teachers, as members of society? And what do we do to service our kids in the best way that we can when the climate outside of our classroom is not their friend? Sorry, that was really heavy.
Rupa, you want to?
Yeah.
Go ahead and solve this one for us.
I don't know. I honestly wish that I had a better answer. Our students face a lot of challenges, and there are people who don't want them to get the services and support that they deserve. And that's really hard for us to have to walk into the classroom every day and know that there are people who don't want our students to even be in it. I feel like, all we can do is let them know how much we love them and how much we're glad that they're there. But yeah, it can be frustrating to feel like, how do we,
Elections matter. And it's time for especially teachers coming together to be able to get out the vote, be able to do those things to help our kids, because that's the main prerogative, is being able to help them and doing whatever we can to ensure that the people that are making these decisions, we need those new voices. And so I think that's, in the midterm elections, that's one of those things that we really need to focus on.
I think this is on the ground answer to that question is a difficult one. I think this is where, at least for me, the people who say don't study slavery, don't study the hard parts, don't study, Don't show my kid the pictures of the black man just trying to vote and being beaten by folks. I think this is where staring into the darkness of it all can actually give you some perspective. And the thing I tell my students is that when my father was born in 1945, segregation was legal and defended by the Supreme Court. When my son was born in 2014, we had a black president. That's a hell of a swing for 3 generations. And in between was a lot of violence and moments where people had good reason to give up. I mean, Diane Nash being dragged from Alabama up here and going right back. There's a lot of reasons to give up and feel like maybe it's going to be hard, and it might be hard, but that doesn't mean that we stop fighting for it. Because I think at the end of the day, when people are willing to hear it, decency is heard. And if we're not being decent, there's nothing to hear. That's my thoughts.
And if I can just add, I mean, like, if we think about history, the power that young people have on these movements is so significant. And we know that, but maybe our students don't. And if they know that the power that they have is strong, I don't know, maybe that could help them feel empowered at least.
There's a dismal outlook on the future. And I think that, like, that's something we need to be aware of. And I think for our students, we have to not give up. I mean, I think it's hard, and it's hard. I don't think it's hard. I know it's hard. But we gotta be a rock for some of the students and be like, whatever happens, I got you. And sometimes just knowing there's one person there for you can make all the difference. Thank you for doing that, for doing the work you guys do in the public schools. It's heavier. You know, I try to advocate for my students, but also, you know, they're all legal adults, you know. As I always say, the difference between you and me is you actually had to learn how to educate, and I can tell them to leave. It's a big difference. Any other questions? Thank you so much. No? We've answered all the questions. As I tell my students, the fact that we've answered every possible question you could have says we're doing our job splendidly. All right, well, I'd like to thank all of you guys for being here. I'd like to thank the Tennessee Council for History Education for having us, Kira Duke for organizing this. And again, round of applause, please, for our 3 panelists, Ruba Charles, Brandon Eldridge, and Andy Polk. I'm Ben Sawyer. This was The Road to Now, and I'm grateful for all the work that you do. Good night. Thank you for listening to The Road to Now. If you enjoyed this episode, please tell the world by giving us 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts or 5 stars on Spotify. Or spread the word directly. Just text a friend maybe, or share a link on social media. Anything helps and we appreciate it. And if you've got a friend who hasn't gotten into podcasts yet, let them know they can hear us every weekend on SiriusXM's POTUS channel 124. Now is the time when we say our special thanks to our supporters on Patreon and give a shout out to our Washingtonians. That list is Tanya Marsh, Mary Hawking, Tim and Caitlin Wells, Fig White, Matt Williams, Team Martin, Ann Williams and Frank Edwards, Nate Farrer, Jennifer and Magnolia, Chris and Teresa Adams, Joy Avery, Edward Carlson, and Aaron and Derek Garrison. Thanks to all you guys for supporting us. If you want to support our work and maybe get on that list, you can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/theroadtonow. You'll get extended versions of select conversations, extra episodes, bonus materials, and more. That's all available at patreon.com/theroadtonow. For more on the show, visit our website, theroadtonow.com, where you can easily search our back catalog and quickly find links to content. Why is it so good? 7 Ages Design. That's who made it. If you're looking for a website, go check them out. The Road to Now is hosted and produced by Bob Crawford and me, Ben Sawyer. Our associate producer is Gary Fletcher. This episode was edited by Gary Fletcher, and our theme music, like pretty much always, was by Paul DeFiglia. For Bob Crawford, this is Ben Sawyer. Thank you for listening. Take care.